Hi everyone, welcome back to Jeremy's game design coaching session. Today I have a team from APU working on their final year project called Project Vixen, which is stealth heist game. And I have with me the team here, three of you guys. Why not you guys maybe just introduce yourself one by one? And also tell me like the elevator pitch of your game. Maybe what is your role in this particular game?
Okay, so my name is Jediah. I am the game designer for this Project Bison. This
Mhm.
Project Bison is a turn-based heist game, or a lot of people call it either Payday 2 but turn-based or a turn-based robbery bob. So we're trying to make turn-based into solely on stealth and nothing on combat. So you're trying your best to go infiltrate this area and steal the main objective and steal more things from there to earn as much money as you can.
Okay, so hi, I'm Li Jue. You can just call me Li for short.
Mhm.
I'm the main programmer. I'm the only programmer, and also the project manager, and also the UI designer for this game.
And hi, I'm William. I'm the 3D artist and also the artist for the character, lah. So I mainly do all the 3D assets.
All right, cool. Okay. So I guess my one question is that what state of this game you're at right now? Like in terms of like progress, like is it like still very early stages? Are you still prototyping or is it like you're like towards the tail, like towards the end of it? Like what is the state right now of the current game?
Okay, so if I judge solely on the schedule we're following,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say our project is currently 80%, somewhere there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's like a lot of improvement yet, but
Mm.
if you're just following the initial plan, it was 80%.
I think for a game at 80%, I can see a lot of the ideas coming through already, and also I've gone through your design documents. So now at this game at 80%, I know you guys already told me about this, but maybe for the benefit of listeners or viewers, maybe you can just explain sort of what are you looking for? What are you sort of like looking for in this session? What do you feel is lacking that you want to try to solve, or is there anything that you feel like you feel like there's an issue but you're not really sure why? Like maybe just give me a rough summary in terms of what you want to achieve for this session today.
Okay, so I think I'll answer this. So for the reason why I came for this session is because we kind of reached to a point where we feel like it's almost where because we're almost like 80% way off to the finished product,
Mm,
and we kind of realized a lot of things such as our unique selling point.
mm-hmm,
Our unique selling point where it's not very prominent in our game
mm,
because it's just a turn-based heist game.
yep.
If we were to pitch this to someone, it may not sound as interesting as we want it to when we initially thought about this game. And I think the second thing we wanted to achieve is to understand why our game feels a little bit shallow in a lot of places and not as mechanical depth as we wanted it to be.
Okay, understand. All right. Okay, thanks. So I did compile a bunch of notes and also a bunch of mechanics, or a sort of explanation in terms of what I'm seeing. So I played the build a bit. Unfortunately, I did not complete the mission because I got stuck at a lot of places. But hopefully I have enough information to sort of go through what you guys are facing through lah. So I have my notes here. So some of the things that I put out here, just to summarize lah, like unique selling point, maybe a bit too shallow. Planning and strategizing might not be as robust. Players too passive avoiding guards, and what is the value to players. So these are the few points that sort of I've sort of like narrowed down lah. And I think I know where these problems are coming from. So hopefully I'll point these things out, and then maybe you guys can think about it. And also, of course, please feel free to give your input like in terms of like why do you think this is such the way, or maybe like maybe also help me to give insight in terms of what is the design process or what is the design decisions when it comes to sort of implementing the game in this particular way. All
Okay.
all right. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I will start with the big picture first. This game combines two different genres. I wouldn't say even genres. I would just say like it's a genre that combines with a particular mechanical expression that is not traditionally part of the genre, which is turn-based and stealth. Turn-based and stealth is very niche. It's really unique, and I'll sort of go through the reason why there is some sort of design conflict in that sense. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. Okay, so if I were to define a stealth game, I would break it out like this. Okay, there is usually like some kind of sneaking phase, and there's an escape phase. So like first you avoid detection, you strategically move around, you sort of like get the lay of the land, you sort of figure out where enemies are, study enemy behavior, study the level layout, and this is during the sneaking phase. You're just trying to get a feel in terms of like what the level is about. And then there is usually some sort of escape phase. Now the escape phase is usually two parts, like either unintentional, which is like, oh, I get spotted, now I need to escape, or the game forces you into a scenario where you need to run away, and then you start to escape. Traditionally, stealth games are real time, so all of this expression is in real time. So like when you avoid detection, you control your character, you walk around. Strategic movement, you just kind of like sneak around, you walk very slowly, you walk very quietly, peek through corners, get a high ground to get sort of like a bird's eye view, and then usually the escape phase is like is a bit like scrambly. I would say the choice of word I would use is a bit scrambly. When you get spotted, it's like, oh, I need to run, I need to hide, that kind of feeling. So usually that's the case lah. Because stealth games are expressed in this particular way, one thing stealth games have is there's one trait that stealth games always have, and this is always very true to a lot of genres. Stealth games have a lot of UI. When you play a stealth game, right, you will realize that they have a lot of information conveyed to you. They're not built inward. They're like UI that sort of pops up. So like for example, like detection. So stealth games have like a detection mechanic, like a meter that sort of fills up to sort of tell you like, oh, now you've been spotted. Stealth games also, like, let's say for example you have like an ability or like a gadget or something, they'll sort of try to explain to you like how the range of the usage, how does it affect the environment, vision cones, mini maps. This is from Splinter Cell. Sometimes they'll tell you like last known position. Like for example, if an enemy spots you, they'll create this like shadow clone of yourself to tell the player like this is where the guard will investigate next. Splinter Cell also has like a meter. Thief also as well. Thief also another stealth game. Has a UI that tells you how concealed you are in the light or in the dark. And also like sometimes in games they'll tell you like what your controls and switches affect lah. Like for example, this particular control panel is gonna turn on this particular door in that sense. So like there's a lot of UI. And the reason why stealth games have a lot of UI is that they really want to make sure that the player know that how hidden or how sneaky you are in that sense, and how do you avoid. Because if the player, one of the most frustrating things in the stealth game is that when an enemy spots you and you do not know why. Let's say for example your character model, the hand sticks out of a corner, and then the enemy sees you, but it's like, oh, how do I know that? Why do my hand stick out of the corner? Or like, let's say for example they look over, like let's say you're hiding under cover and they look over it, right? And then suddenly they see you. It's like, hey, I thought I crouched, I thought I'm hidden. Like why am I being seen? So stealth games, right, they need a lot of UI to sort of communicate the game state very clearly. One of the things that stealth games usually try to do is to really cut down as much ambiguity as possible. Ambiguity is the number one enemy of stealth games. If your game is very unclear, your game would feel very, very tricky. One thing about your game is that there is quite a bit of ambiguity. So, like for example, there was one spot where I'm standing right here, and I've asked myself, can the guard see me or not? I know the answer to this, they can lah, but the thing is, it's not very clear to me. So sometimes when I walk up here, it's like, can the guard see me? Some things as well is like, for example, how much points do I need to move here? So like movement as well in terms of information, like again, not super clear. In this environment, right now, I look at all the doors. I will ask myself, which door is locked and which door is unlocked? How do I know? Because as far as I can tell, the locked doors and the unlocked doors are the same design. I cannot really tell, like, do I just spend 5 TP to open this door or 10 TP to lockpick this door? How do I know touching this laser is instant lose? Like information like this. If I get spotted here, so let's say for example, if I ran into a camera here, how far will they track me? And then like things like, oh, where is this guard going to move? Like there's a few things that has a lot of ambiguity. Like here as well, am I spotted here? Yes, I did, but the UI pop-up was too fast and I missed it. So there was one point where I walked here, and the guard technically already saw me, but the UI was so fast that I'm like, oh, they actually spotted me. oh, this one, the guard was walking from this point here to this point here. And when he crossed this path, he did not see me at all. And this one was like, hey, wait, I thought there was like a red box here. Again, I'm not very sure. I'm not 100% entirely sure in terms of like whether I'm standing in the right spot or not. But when the guard walked past here, he cannot see me. So I was like, am I hidden or not? There's a lot of ambiguity in your game, and I feel like you need to find a way to make a lot of things clearer. Why is this important? Because it's part of this one, planning and strategizing. A big part of stealth games, right? Because stealth games is one of the earlier opposition to action games. You know, action games, you go in, you fight, you shoot, you know, you gung ho. Stealth games is all about taking things slower, you know, planning and strategizing. And if you don't have information, there is not much room for strategy. Like there's no information, there's no sense of discovery. So one of the things that I feel like you need to be a little bit clearer is in terms of your information. I recommend better over explain it rather than under explain it, especially for self. Not because of like, you know, you want to drown the player in UI or whatnot, but I think for stealth games in particular, that is usually the case. And that usually would help the player ease into the fantasy of it. The idea in terms of like being sneaky and being, because one thing is like, let's say this one, right? Like if I'm playing a game and I'm immersed, when this kind of things happen, I get thrown out of the game. I get like, oh man, player reaction, right? Oh, that was bullshit. Oh, that's nonsense. How do I get spotted here? That kind of thing. This is also not to say that this is also something that happens in AAA games as well. Sometimes some games or maybe like other, you know, more experienced game developers, there are ambiguity in that sense because, you know, no game is perfect, right? So that's usually the source of like, player frustration. So you want to cut down those things as much as possible, and you need to find a way to figure out how to get past this ambiguity lah.
I have a questions like
Yes.
because this is ambiguity because I'm not just stating here. I'm just want to ask a question.
Yeah, of course.
Because I have thought because sometimes if let's say because now your experience is kind of like you enter the game and it's the first level already, but my question is how what does the tutorial play in this role then? Because technically a lot of these things should be taught in a tutorial, right? But
Yep.
but why does making like having more UI make it so much clearer when you can just have a tutorial?
If you play stealth games traditionally, right, the UI never goes away completely. Yes, they will teach you, but the UI also explains itself. So even though if you trial and error the UI, right, you will see it one time and you maybe are not very sure the first time, but the second time you'll be like, it's very clear. I would say the only exception is that some stealth games, they want to make it like really hardcore, really realistic. Then they'll remove this UI as like a final challenge for players. Then it becomes like super ambiguous because you already know the game and you want to challenge yourself. I would say the tutorial, yes, should explain, but that doesn't mean that after the tutorial, you're removing those stuff. I don't think you should remove those stuff. I would also recommend to sort of challenge this idea as well to other people. Let them play this and then see see how they respond. I'm not, I don't have access to like your playtesting process, but I'm just gonna make an educated guess. Okay, please correct me if I'm wrong. As people play your game, this level, there's a lot of trial and error, correct? I don't know if that's there's a lot of like moments where it's they'll get to a point they lose and then they have to try again without reaching to the end, or maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, that is actually very, very correct because I had I sat with one playtester and
Yes.
he exact experience as you mentioned where he just go to a corner and he was just testing this card.
Yes.
He was like trying to understand how does this card work.
Yep.
So once he understand, he was like, oh okay, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. So yes, you are correct on that part.
You don't want players to do that because the more they get out of it, the less invested they are. Even though if they are invested, every time they come back is extra effort. Every time they come back in, their interest gets lower and lower and lower and lower. That also contributes to sort of the shallowness, right? Because the only way to understand your game is through brute force trial and error. I would also argue to the point, right? Like for example, right? If let's say you ask me to choose between making the game super easy, super brain dead easy, and making the players trial and error to sort of figure out mechanics, I will pick the brain dead easy first because at least the players are not kicked out of the game. So the ambiguity creates this experience of I'm getting kicked out of the game. Then my immersion drops. Then my interest drops. I recommend over showing the UI rather than under showing the UI. Okay, so reduce ambiguity is one of the main points. Okay, so
Okay.
now I talk about stealth games a little bit. Now I want to talk about turn-based games a little bit. Before I go on, any questions? Any other questions on this one?
No,
Mm.
because I think also one of the players did mention that it was quite ambiguous when they were
Mm.
playing because they didn't know what is happening around them. They wanted to
Mm.
know a lot of information and we were not able to provide. But
Ah,
I think we did not take too much into account.
yeah. Stealth games, trust me, stealth games has been made since like the 80s already till now. The information is very important for the players. Super important. Action, you can get away with a lot of things in terms of like action games, but for stealth games, they are usually very reliant on information because it is strategic in nature. Okay? So you want to understand one thing. Stealth games are strategic in nature. Strategic games need information. If you don't have information, there is no strategy. This is the main reason, strategic.
So, okay, another question I want to ask, right?
Yep.
Because this UI is mainly like tackling on like letting the players know information that can help them plan and strategize a
Yep.
lot. But I want to ask a question:
Mm,
how will the like information such as like the basic main information such as like main objective location, guard location,
mm.
is it kind of related to this, or is it things like the actions that can players do, or
Ah,
something like that?
okay. I have an answer, but it's later. So
Oh,
so so
okay.
yeah, I have an answer, but it's later because I want to break down the process first. I want to talk about this part first, and then I'll talk about the next part, and then I'll because that one is related to a lot of different things. So I just want to break down in terms of what I'm trying to get at first, and then I'll come to that one. Okay. Please remind me if I didn't answer. I'll get back to that.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Now I'm coming to turn-based games. Okay, so turn-based games usually, traditionally, they have these few traits. Okay, clear separation of phases and states. Actions have costs and limitations. Focus on strategy and planning. Again, there's an overlap here. And actions are more committal and comes with consequences. Because time is unlimited between turns, turn-based games are usually all about strategy and resource management. It is very interesting that you try to combine stealth and turn-based because these two has some overlap. Mainly the fact that both games rely on strategy, and both games are pretty committal, right? Because if let's say in a stealth game you want to take a risk, will I get spotted by this guard or whatnot? When you get spotted by the guard, it's a you're already committed to escaping already or running away. So it's a very committal kind of game. Again, because the strategy, the more reason you need UI because the worst thing that can happen to play is say that I did not intend for that to happen. That's the one thing that you don't want them to say. I did not intend for that to happen. Because if information is clear, then they know like, oh right, maybe I shouldn't walk here because they can see me. Especially things like this detection, right? Like let's say the game don't have any visual cones, and you ask yourself, can this enemy see me or not? And then you just like walk out of the bush and you just kind of like inch it a little bit, and then you see this meter pop up, and then yeah, right, you can see me. Okay, now I'll go back in because they know if I get spotted, I'm committed to the escape phase already. I'm committed to the next phase already. So they don't want that to happen. They don't want to be like, can this guard see me or not? And then the moment you hit their vision, go boom, they spot you already. That kind of thing. So you don't want that to happen. So turn-based games are more committed comes with consequences. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about resource management. Turn-based games are because time is unlimited. They are usually all about strategy and resource management. So turn-based games are mostly about cost efficiency, right? Spending less resource but also maximizing returns. Okay, so these are just some examples of turn-based games. You're moving, you're moving to different spots to get better space control and positioning. So like in Baldur's Gate, some characters would get benefits from being at a higher ground. You get your abilities get more range, they get more damage. You go for higher ground. Find better positions for combat advantages. Maybe like you attack from behind, you do a bit more damage, that kind of thing. Action or utility points for stronger effects. Let's just say I spend 1 point to do this effect, but if I spend 3 points, I get more effects. And also there's some sort of character building element to manage your abilities and chance. The moment the relationship between the resource and reward breaks down, the less meaningful a turn-based game action becomes. Okay? So it's important for turn-based games to establish the relationship of these resources. What do I get for spending? Okay, so let's say I come to this door and I want to lockpick it. I'll spend 10 points. But what do I gain from lockpicking this door? If I have to spend a point access a space, why the extra 10 points is needed? Me going through this door there's no tactical advantage. I'm just walking through this door. This hallway, if I'm not mistaken, there's nothing really here, right? There's nothing really here. There's no guard or there's no nothing. So me lockpicking this door cost me 10 points. Then I will ask, why am I spending 10 points? Why can't I just walk through this door? I'm spending points. I should get something in return, right? But I didn't really get that. So that layer of information breaks down a little bit. So this enemy pathway took me 3 whole turns to discover this enemy pathway. I abused the free unlimited time had to get information. So I think I was standing right here. Yes, I was standing right here. And I sort of like skip turn. I just sort of like see the enemy go about and go onto your path. Because I know that if I walk out this path here, I run to really make sure that I cannot get seen. So I just enter, and then became like a bit passive, like one of the things that you put a note there, because I abused the free unlimited time I had to get information. Third thing, what are the risks and rewards for going through these 3 paths? So at the start of this level, I kind of noticed that there's 3 possible paths I can go. What is the benefit from going to path number 1? What's the benefit of going path number 2? What's the benefit of going to path number 3? Trial and error seems to be the only way breaking out the game's immersion. Again, I mentioned earlier before, and this is something that's something that I noticed in the earlier parts as well. It's like there's a lot of trial and error. The more I play this, the more I get this. Now, I would argue that I'm giving this exchange here. In a game something like this, I would say that you have certain resources and also you have certain rewards like time, gadgets, skills, motion, actions, and movement. In exchange for enemy positions, blind spots, secret pathways, places to hide, things like that. And in terms of a traditional stealth game, what you have is time, and what you have maybe is like gadgets and stuff. Time is the resource that you spend. I wait here for about 5 seconds, I can kind of get the enemy's movement. I use this gadget to take out this particular guard. So I'm spending resource to get certain advantages. The inherent nature of turn-based, which is, these points here, into this new expression of it. Like if I can totally imagine, like if this is a real-time game, I feel that there's not much issue because things are moving very fast. Things are moving at my own pace. I can walk around. I can just sort of like this trial and error is very traditionally tied to real-time stealth games. But the moment you turn to turn-based, you're now bringing the strategy way forward. The strategy now becomes like super important. But that didn't really happen at this point in time. I can unlock doors. I can move. But that's about it. I can't really do much else already. There's no strategy. Yeah. So walking around in your level right now feels like playing a real-time game in turn-based, which I think is kind of missing the point. How do I express strategy?
So my question is this mainly because my level design was not geared towards a more turn-based scenario, or was it because the mechanics that we let the players able to do is the problem here?
I don't think the level design is the main problem. I think the main problem is that because I cannot really interact with anything in the game, I can pick up stuff, right? Okay, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I can open doors. I can pick up objects. That's it, right?
Okay, I think that
Yeah.
is tied to the ambiguity part. Is because there's actually 3 more interactions you can do.
Yeah.
Actually, 4 more interactions.
Oh, right.
One is actually sprinting, which
Uh-huh.
kind of like is bind to a key on your keyboard, but we did not have a button there. The second thing is the hacking. If you go into that small room, right,
Yep.
there's actually a glowing green computer. You actually can like right click on that and kind of hack that.
I
And if
see.
you realize like certain rooms, there's like a closet as well. You can actually hide inside that. And remember the laser line you mentioned, there's like
Yeah.
an instant boost, you actually can disarm that.
Yeah. I figured you can, but again, it's very ambiguous. So
Yeah.
So they're kind of related, right? Because there's little information. It makes me feel like, what can I do in this game? I can't really tell. Now, you're sort of like your instincts are not wrong, but they're not taking into account what happens to a game when it becomes turn-based. If that makes sense. Because your game becomes turn-based, number one, your UI needs to go way up, and also the action and consequences needs to be way clearer. And the third thing is resources. A turn is a resource, and action is a resource in turn-based games. What am I spending and what am I getting? Because right now, the way the game is designed right now is that You're just turning the real time into turn-based. That's it. That's why it might feel shallow, because how you strategize in a real-time game is different from how you strategize in a turn-based game, because it's committal. I give you an example. In a real-time stealth game, you just kind of like you walk around, you take a look here, you take a look there, you inch in, hit forward, you inch in backward, and then you at the end of it you kind of like, okay, I think I know how this level works, and then only you make a decision, right? In a turn base you cannot really do that, because every time you move, you're making a hard commitment to move, and you have to wait. So the pacing is like super slow. So you really want to condense your strategy into a smaller chunks. Your play-by-play decision making has to be a little bit more micro than very macro. What am I getting? What am I spending, and what am I getting in return? Because resources doesn't feel as important, then the turn-based element suddenly becomes less important. Yeah, does it make sense?
That makes sense, but
Ah,
thinking about how to make the turn points more valuable and more
ah,
impactful to the players, I feel like right now on the top of my head is very hard to wrap around.
yeah. Okay, I'll come back to that because I got a solution for you. Okay, don't worry about it. I'll come back to that. Any questions about this one?
I don't have a question, but I just want to add on to the asset that's for interaction, right? There's actually one more that
Oh, right.
you can right click on the guards to inspect their path.
Is it like a distance, or is it like, do I have to walk next to them, or I
No,
can
you can just if it's in within your view, which they are not hiding in the fog, you can
ah
right click and see the path they're going to take next turn. Yeah.
okay. Do I need to spend points for that?
No.
Okay. All right. I okay. I will come back to that later, because now that you mentioned you can do that, I suddenly have like I now realize that, oh, I have more information to make of. But I think there is a way to make it stronger. I think there's a way to make it a lot stronger. Now, if you can interact with something, I recommend the UI pop up when your mouse over it. That's what I recommend. This is not due to the fact that your hand holding the player. Is this the nature of cell games, nature of strategy games, is that you have to cut down ambiguity. That's the main thing. Mm. If
Mm.
there is a mechanic that exists and the player does not see it, you have to make it super clear.
I
Yep.
don't know whether it's appropriate for me to ask this question
Yep.
now.
Yep.
It's because I'm not so sure you know, because the current build we have, we don't have the so-called pre-game mechanic that I mentioned.
Yes.
So the pre-game mechanic is basically you trying to get more information about the
Mm,
level.
mm.
So then when you like mention this ambiguity and
Yep.
everything, if let's say we kind of lock that behind the action of what you do inside the pre-game mechanic,
Yep.
if let's say in a certain room you were not able to observe a guard, you were not able to like understand its location and stuff like that,
Yep.
does that the impact the strategic planning a lot in that sense?
Yeah. So I noticed that you have this sort of scouting phase, right? This part of the document.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay, I would say this: you are on the right track, but I feel it shouldn't be a different phase. I'm not sure how you're gonna implement this straight up, because I think it's one thing to read it, but also another thing to sort of see how it's expressed. Like, you might be able to, let's say, get a specific advantage before you start. Let's say, for example, say, oh, can I buy enemy pathways ahead of time, so that whenever I see the enemy paths, I can see them straight away. I don't need to like inspect them or whatever it is. That's maybe something that you can do. But it has to be something that you carry into the game itself. Because if you have information in another phase completely, the player might not be able to retain that information if they cannot like pull it out and look at it constantly. It's like saying, like, I want to play a stealth game, let's just say Metal Gear Solid, but the map I can see before I start, but when I go into the level I cannot see the map anymore. Then how do I remember, right? Unless that's not your intention, because from the way I read it, it feels like it's a different part of the game altogether. Yeah.
I think if I were to like explain it a little bit more clearer,
Yep.
so right now you're on a correct screen where, because the map it would kind of like display the layout of the entire
Mm.
entire level, and
Yep.
player can like move between rooms and everything.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
in every room you can like search for valuables or like
Yep.
investigate the surveillance.
Mm.
And once you actually do that action,
Yep.
you will kind of like, when you enter the game, it immediately will have some sort of benefit to you. So let's say you
Mm.
investigate surveillance inside the control room, the small
Yeah.
control room that was inside just now, you
Yep.
straight away are able to, when you go close to it, you're able to right click inspect it, then you can know all the information that is connected to that that PC that you're able to hack. But
Ah.
because you taught us like the ambiguity part, so I was kind of worried if, let's say, this is kind of locked behind this pre-game mechanic.
Yep.
I was worried that if they were not able to do this, will it kind of impact the
Right. Right.
strategic part and stuff like
You
that?
see,
Because it
yeah,
yeah.
you are putting the strategy outside of the game itself. I would say, right, the fun part of a stealth game is that you strategize as you go. It's like I'll give you an example. Let's say you're watching a heist movie. The robbers and everything, they plan the heist, they look at the blueprint, they see all the guards and everything, and they go in, they rob, and everything is clear, and everyone get the money and they run, and the movie ends. It will make for a very boring movie, right? Because it's like, oh, they plan everything perfectly, they executed everything perfectly. What makes it more interesting is that things go wrong, or things change throughout, or surprises happen that you might not expect. I think you want to have the player to strategize as they go along. I would try to make it in such a way that information you get in the map should come from the map itself, that would open up more information as you play it, rather than keeping it completely out of the face. Now, you it's not to say you can do this. I don't think this is a bad idea at all. I feel it takes the strategy part out into a separate phase altogether, and then it's sort of like, because once you buy the information, you have it already. There's no thought anymore. Let's say you buy the information. Okay, I have this information, but there's an obstacle. How do I get past this obstacle? So I'm not really sure how you plan to execute it, especially specifically. But my concern is that if you take it out of the face completely, there is a danger of disconnection. That sometimes this planning phase is planning for show only. There's no real strategy involved in it, because you're out of the level itself. Yeah, you're taking player choices away ahead of time. That's what I feel. That's what my gut tell me. Again, I'm making a lot of assumptions, so don't take this as like absolute truth lah. But that's what my gut is telling me lah, in that sense. If no questions, I'll move to the next part. I'll go to turn-based stealth. Okay, so the sneaking phase of stealth games might translate well into turn-based gameplay, as there are similar overlaps. The problem comes when the escape phase, when the tension is high due to the scrambly nature of it. How do you translate some of the more fluid moments in stealth games into turn-based games? So one thing about turn-based games is that they define their phases and timings very, very clearly. Okay, so I'll use one example of a mechanic you have in game that you guys like, and I want to explain the differences between a lockpicking mechanic in a real-time game and a lockpicking mechanic in a stealth-based game. Okay, when you lockpick, right, in Splinter Cell, this happens in real time. So you're lockpicking, you're standing there, you're sort of fiddling with it. As you're doing this, there is a chance that the guard might come to you and spot you. So lockpicking is a risk. In the game also, there's an option to use a disposable pick, which will instantly unlock the door, but it will create some noises. So there's some sort of risk as well. So lockpicking in a real-time game has this particular kind of risk. Now, in the turn-based game, right, when you try to lockpick, you play this little mini game, and this mini game is real time. And it's like very mechanic driven, right? Because you need to make sure this meter touch this particular. You need to make sure that this marker touch this marker so that it unlocks the door. But because time is unlimited in the turn-based games, the tension becomes very isolated to this particular moment. The tension of you missing the lockpicking mechanic is just the fact that you just lost some points, and that's it. And I feel that that tension suddenly it's missing. And the reason why is because this is a real-time expression of a mechanic turned into turn-based, but never really consider what would happen what will lose out if you do that. So the timing of things happening is a little bit too inconsistent. Your turn-based become real-time and then become turn-based again. The tension of the real-time suddenly is lost from the turn-based. Whereas as opposed to a real-time game, which is like fully mechanical driven, like if you're bad at lockpicking, you're gonna get spotted. That's the sense of tension and the sense of real time there. Because timing and phases is unified. Your lockpicking time and your and the guard walking time is the same. turn-based games, they micro all the phases in player actions so that you're very clear in terms of what point that you can act and what point you cannot act. And I feel that if you have if your definition of phases and timing is not very clear, there's also a scenario where players will get like more and more detached from your game as well. For example, in a real-time game, you will see like there is this like a meter, right? That the enemy would, you kind of spot you. In real time, there's some leeway to gauge if enemies spot you, letting you feel your way through certain spots, and you might even use it to your advantage by luring them away. Okay, real-time games gives you some, I would say, fluidity. Real-time games gives you fluidity, and it lets you sort of like get a feel for enemy behavior, enemy locations, and whatnot. Even after you get spotted, the escape phase becomes a scramble against real-time to get back into hiding. Whereas opposed to like, okay, so compared to what's happening in your game right now, avoiding the guard and the counter here has left me exposed to this particular this other guard here. My strategic decision left me in the scramble to escape. If only there was a way to get this intel ahead of time. So I played this room a few times, and the first few times I played through, I get stuck in this scenario. I feel like there's no way out. I feel like no matter what I do, I keep getting spotted, but then later on I did found a way around it. Getting into this room committed me to getting spotted already. Dodging this guard committed me to be seen by this particular guard. In a real-time game, if let's say I walk from here to here, by the time this guard is here, he has not seen me yet. Okay, he has not seen me yet. I still can walk away. Maybe he's walking closer and closer, but I can still move away. In the turn-based games, once I'm here, boom, I'm locked in. This is my location, and then he walks up, and I get seen. The design of your game is taking into account what would a real-time stealth game be like. But because now it's turn-based, I am committed to this move already. I cannot move from this spot already. So there's very little, how to say, the in-betweens. I would say the in-betweens. The only way I know how this camera works is by committing to entering this room. There's no way of knowing, like, there's no way of looking into the room, sort of like get a feel, and then I see maybe the camera move here, I sneak past it, My final solution was this. I realized there's a little blind spot here, and I sort of like squeeze through here. Okay? And this only exists, this only can happen in a real-time game, because the real-time game then gives me that small little window. Oh, I can sneak past this in 2 seconds. There will be a blind spot, then I can walk through. So that's what happens in this. But in the turn-based game, it's hard committed. So I have to sort of like enter to sort of see like how is it go, and then try to make a guess in terms of like whether the camera can see me or not. So that's how I found the solution. But again, ambiguity plays a part as well. But I would say because it's turn-based, I'm forced into a lot of waiting around to get information. The strategic element sort of like falls apart because of the fact that it's designed like a real-time stealth game. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You get what I mean, right? Okay. So this one is a bit tricky because turn-based is not just an expression. The act of turning a game turn-based suddenly flips it into a very strategic kind of game already. There's no in-betweens anymore. Everything is, I make a decision. Even micro decisions are broken down into very micro points, and you need to do that for turn-based games. Now I know a lot of things are piling up now, but again, I have a solution for you. Okay. Any questions so far on this particular point?
No, but
Ah.
a bit feel bad because you're kind of like spoon feeding us also, in a way.
No. Trust me. I don't fault you guys for not noticing this, because this is one of your first few projects. Don't worry about it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and learning from this one. I'm just sort of like trying to break down in terms of like what is the cost of combining genres, because combining genres is fun, but like if you don't consider the implications of it, it might sort of mess up your original plan, if that makes sense. Yeah. I like the idea of a turn-based stealth game. It's just that you're missing the point of a turn-based game. The point of a turn-based game is not here, I feel. Yeah. So a lot of the feeling I get is like, oh, this if this game was real time, I think a lot of the design decisions that you guys make is there. It's technically correct. Yeah. It's just that you're taking a little bit of a risk. It's a risk that you have to go through lah. Just have to sort of like understand, just sort of like try to learn from it and then go through. Again, not to say spoon feeding or what, it's just part of the process, This kind of mistakes, I made it years ago through trial and error, so it's something that don't feel bad about lah. Don't feel bad about it, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Alright.
All right. Okay. There is one more point. Unique. This is fantasy, right? This is more on the unique selling point. Not. So I'm not really talking about mechanics here. This is just more on the fantasy part. This is a very quick segment. I'll just talk about a little bit. Okay. I'll tell you what. Let me pull up this game. Let me pull up your game right now. Okay. So now I'll just let this game play through, right? I can see from this game that it is, I can see that what you're trying to go for, like you're sneaking through an office, you're trying to, sneak past the guards, you're trying to steal something, that element is there. I think that feeling of what you're trying to do in terms of like this sneaking around is there. But I want to also add on that there is an element of depth you can add to your game to sort of sell the idea a bit more. Okay, so games are just more than just genre and mechanics. Fantasy also plays a very important aspect to get people interested in the first place. A robbery game can be about robbing bank or robbing a house. Both have different expression. Robbing a bank and robbing a house, they're both robbing games, correct?
Yeah.
But the fantasy of robbing a bank is very different from a fantasy of robbing a house, correct? Bank is very high
Yes.
stakes, right? It's like the security guards, I might need to carry a gun, I need an escape vehicle, very high security. Whereas robbing a house is like a bit low risk, maybe a bit more casual, maybe a bit more maybe a bit more like low stake in that sense. Even though they're both robbing, they have very different expressions. Even a game like Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell, these are like one of the original like stealth game genres, right? Both games might look very similar, right? They're both like very militaristic. They're both like use gadgets to sneak around. But Metal Gear Solid leans more towards action. There's a lot of like very Hollywood level set pieces, big explosions, car chases, whatever not. Whereas Splinter Cell goes for a more like realism approach, like hiding in the dark, lock picking. You see, even the lock picking. This is from Splinter Cell, by the way. The lock picking looks like this. It's very like there's a lot of element of realism to it. So the flavor of that carries forward. I feel that your game needs a little bit of flavor still. Like what is the flavor of your game? Am I like I'll give you some examples. I'm stealing this laptop, right? But why? Like, does this laptop have like company secrets? Then it becomes like, oh, maybe this is like a company espionage game, where I go into different companies and steal their secrets so that they cannot do their business or whatever not. That little element helps to sell the game even more, and you don't have to change the art direction or whatever not, because I feel like the whatever they have here, I feel is like the aesthetic of the game. I feel is there. You just need to add a little bit more fantasy rather than steal laptop. Steal this company secrets or steal this their cryptocurrency or steal their top secret plan. Like what are you stealing? I think small little things like that will add to the flavor of your game. And when you say unique selling point, usually sometimes the appealing to the player's fantasy can also help. Why people want to play Metal Gear Solid over Splinter Cell? Because of these small little things. They're both on the surface. If you look at footage of these two games, right, they look very similar. But the more you play, the more you feel like, hey, there's some small differences that people might not like. People might not like the over-the-topness of Metal Gear Solid, and people then lean to the more realistic nature of Splinter Cell. Some people might say like, I love this over-the-top Hollywood action movie style games. Maybe Metal Gear Solid is more for me. Small little things like that will help push the player more into the game that you're making, and also to help the player buy into the fantasy of your world, and also sort of help your mechanics to also express themselves. One of your game is Monaco, and I got a feeling that you are drawing inspiration mostly from this game, right? Or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the main inspiration is here.
Yeah. One thing I want to add is that Monaco is number one, a multiplayer game. Number two, it's a little bit more arcadey than stealth. It's stealth. It's a stealth game. Don't get me wrong, but I feel it's more arcadey than stealth. If you draw like a spectrum, right, in terms of like, is it more stealth, is it more arcadey? It's like more towards on the arcadey side. The game is like relatively fast paced. You go through the levels pretty fast. Um, there's a lot of like leeway to move around and sneak past guards. So I feel that this game has a lot of, how to say, expression, because the fact that it's designed like as a multiplayer arcade stealth game. But also I would like to add pixel character aesthetic, but the writing is very comedic. I think the overall tone of Morocco is like everyone in this town, like they're practically like, okay, I didn't play this game, so I just mostly watch footages lah. But from the way I'm getting it is that it feels like a lot of people in this town is very like dumb. So that's why these robbers are sort of robbing everyone very, very freely, very openly. So there's a lot of comedy. So that comedy helps to sell the fantasy of the world already, because it's like, oh, look at me, I'm a robber, and look at all these people. They are just so dumb. They don't even know I'm here. That kind of feeling, you know. That's why it plays into the arcade nature. That's why it plays into the more like multiplayer nature. Also, small little things like their design of the map feels like a blueprint as well. Small little things like this will add to the fantasy of your game now. So you want to think about these small little things once in a while to help the player to get into the world, into the unique selling point. So you might look at the game, oh, it's a robbery game, but what are you robbing? Who are you? Who are you robbing? What character are you? You know, the kind of thing. Just adding these small little things would help flesh out your game a little bit more. The keyword I use here is more specific. If you are more specific in certain spots, then your world becomes more and more clearer. Because it's like you can just say, hey, I'm robbing a rich tech CEO, or I'm robbing a rival company. You know, like even though these two things are so similar, one might appeal more than the other to some people, and then they might just buy into the idea because of that particular idea. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Question is, right, is how kind of we deliver that kind of information to the player.
Right.
I mean, I have an idea, like on the top of my head, is like
Yeah.
before the pre-game thing happened, everything, we kind of have like a mini story for them to like read through,
Yeah.
which kind of helps it a bit, but is that really the way?
I think you can do that, but I think you need to try to bring that element in the gameplay itself a little bit as well. Yeah. So let's say if you have faces of the character, you want to bring that in here as well a little bit. Try to see if you can bring that element in here as well, so that you are reminded like, oh, I'm playing this particular character. You know, that kind of feeling. I would say don't completely separate your storytelling with your gameplay. Try to bring the element of that storytelling in the game itself more, if you can. A simple thing like this: stealing a laptop from the boss room. Why not change it to hack the cryptocurrency address from this particular laptop? You know, that adds a little bit of flavor already, and that small little thing change will just help in terms of like your storytelling a little bit. Okay, I have talked about the core issues of the game and how a lot of your problems stem from this particular base, like the fact that it's a turn-based, the fact that it's a stealth game expressed through turn-based, but it's not carrying the elements of a turn-based. So how do you fix this? What is the problem? What is the solution? It is important to get inspiration from different games. Yes, I think you got inspiration from robbery games. You got information from stealth games, but you're not getting inspiration from a stealth-based game. And lucky for you, there is a game that exists that I feel is very, very close to what you guys are doing. And if you can replicate at least some of the mechanics in this particular game, I think whatever that you have here, you can adapt it to reflect what a true turn-based stealth game is. And this game is Invisible Ink. Have you heard of this game before?
I downloaded this game recently.
You haven't tested it. Good. Okay, recently, right? So good. You're getting to the right direction. So my recommendation is this: if you bought this game, or any of you bought this game, I recommend you play it, because this game has adapted the stealth game mechanics in turn-based very, very well, and I feel that with some small adjustments, I feel that you can bring to what this game is trying to do. All right, I'll give you some examples. The game puts you in a very, very clear separation of space. The game puts you in the room at the start, and you don't know what's around you until you look through doors, which is a very turn-based thing. If you look at your game, right, the information around the room is very a bit ambiguous. Like what you can or cannot see is not really entirely clear. How this game separates information for you is by separating the rooms very, very clearly defined. Like you cannot see until you take an action to peek through. So like for example, right, I peek through this door and now I can see a partial information of this room. Now I can make a decision, because in your game, right, let's find this moment. This one. Me going into this door committed me to getting seen by this guard already. But if I can peek, I can then know, hey, there's a guard in this room. maybe I shouldn't rush in so fast. Maybe let me think about it first. Let me think about, do I want to go into this room or not? That clear separation of space, clear separation of time, and also giving you resources to do it helps you to sort of create a strategic element. Now that I know there's a guard in this room, should I go in or not? Or maybe should I find another way? Second thing is, how do they deal with like a scrambly situation? What if I get seen by a guard? I have options. A very clear UI to tell you where the guard is going to investigate. So like you see, right, I get spotted here, but I go and hide here. The guard now sees that there's this question mark here. So now I know this guard is going to investigate this particular spot. Now I know how to act in this particular scenario, which is very similar to a scenario like this, right? What if I get spotted by a guard? You know, this meter coming out. Oh, they haven't fully spotted me yet. Now I can go and hide. You know, that kind of thing. So they translate this expression of a stealth game, this part of the stealth game, very well in turn-based, because they very, very clearly separated the phase of how you get spotted and how you can get away. Which your game, I feel, it kind of exists already. I feel your game has this in one way or another. It's just that it's not very clear. Like this, I think this one. Yeah, this one here. Like, I feel like your guard is kind of doing something very similar. But if I have this information, I feel a little bit more relief, because now I know that I don't have to worry about the guy for a while. Yeah, so very, very clear information, very clear separation of space. Resource management, right? I don't know if it's intentional for you guys to not be able to take down guards, but I feel taking down guards adds a layer of depth to the game as well, because there are some areas of your game I feel that, oh, I'm really, really stuck. I really don't know how to get I really don't know how to get through this particular scenario very elegantly. And it forces me into situations like this. If I can take down guards, I feel like I have a little bit of option. So now, in this game, right, when you take down a guard, you're not killing them. You're just like putting them out of commission for 3 turns. Now it adds another strategic depth, right? Do I take out this guard and leave him there? Or maybe can I pin this character down so that they cannot get up for like as long as I have somebody here? That gives me another element of strategy. I am sacrificing the control of one character to keep this guard in place. What you talk about this scouting phase,
Yeah.
I feel this game also does something very similar as well. So in this game, right, they have this in their narrative, you have this like particular AI that sort of like help you to hack terminals, to open up different rooms or new information, but it costs a particular resource, which is power, PWR. I feel that this game has 2 layers to it. You have the strategic layer, which is having this tactical view to see the map as a whole and to open up new areas or spaces that you do not know exist. And they have this like more tactical level where you make smaller decisions, like for example, where do I walk, where do I hide, which guard do I take down, in that sense. Yeah, so they separate these two, and these two use different resources. This one uses your AP points, this one uses like a very wide-reaching resource. So it adds another layer of going into strategy, going into tactics, back and forth, and you can do this at any time in between turns. Because they combine this strategic element into the gameplay itself, it feels like I'm discovering the level as I'm going along. I feel like you feel like you're kind of on the right track. It's just like how you present these things in a way already. And of course, clear information as well. Like you see this character, right? He's like semi-transparent. This shows that you're hidden and enemies cannot see you while in this state. So things like this, like now that I know like I'm here, okay, maybe now I can hide here and sort of observe. Whereas like in scenarios like this one, I wasn't very sure. It makes me feel like, oh, am I hidden or not? You know, it makes me think of that. Whereas in the other game, I don't have to think. I know I'm hidden. Then I can make a decision. And the last thing is there's this mechanic called the security level. So one thing you're worried, right? People becoming too passive, right? What if I just stand around and just wait for the more turns you take, the more security level increases, and it makes the level harder to explore. There are more guards, more security, more cameras, things like that.
I think for this one, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But we actually have this, but I think it's not based on the player's turn. It's based on how many times you were seen by the guard. The more
Right.
times you were seen by the guard, the security will increase at certain points.
I think you can make it clearer.
It's still tied to the ambiguity.
Yes, ambiguity. Because if let's say I do not know the enemy security increase, right? Then what's stopping me from being passive? And then let's say if let's say I'm being passive, and then suddenly I realize, actually, why the guard behavior change? Is it a bug? Is it what? You know, you don't know. But if you say security level increase from 1 to 2, then you'll be like, oh shit, something is wrong, right? That's where you know what's going on. It helps the player to sort of get into that state because again, ambiguity, right? Like some stealth games like the enemy cone, like let's say in this cone, right? I think this is from Metal Gear Solid. Like the yellow one, the yellow cones means that they kind of know there's somebody around. Red cone means that they spotted you. It's very, very clear, right? And this one helps because I know that I don't need to worry about yellow, but I need to get out here as soon as as fast as I can. Yeah. Whereas if it's blue, it's like, okay, I can chill for a while. Maybe I can wait for a bit. One thing also I would say, because this game allows you to take out guards, it then gives you a strategic challenge, right? Do I take out a guard at the risk of increasing security level to access a space, or should I just wait, or should I just take more turns in a sense? So this is something that this game has, and I feel that if you do have a security level, I think making it clearer is the first thing you can do. But whether do you want your game to take down guards, I leave that decision up to you. But remember that plays into this mechanic as well. So think about it, what are your other options? I think my takeaway from your game is that if I get spotted by a guard, what are my options? I feel that your game still needs sort of that
Counterplay.
that counterplay. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. Doesn't have to be taking out guards, but you do need a counterplay because getting spotted in the stealth game is it's part of the process. Yeah. One thing also I have to note about Invisible Ink is that this game has a very this game ramps up the security as you play along. So eventually, right, you will need to escape this one, and eventually the level gets more and more intense. And this is by design of the game. Some games they reset, like in let's say a game like Metal Gear Solid. If you get spotted, as long as you hide long enough, it resets back to normal. And then you bring everything back to the status quo again. But in Invisible Ink, the security ramps higher and higher and higher and higher and higher until to the point where there's no escape. So you have to get out before that happens. This indirectly adds the tension to the players. No, not indirectly, actually, it directly adds tension to the players. And that's by design of this particular game. And I feel that this is a decision that you need to make. You need to think carefully before you make it, because it works for this particular game. But if you, let's say, do not want this feature in your game, you need to know what are you risking, what are you giving up for not having that. Passivity is always a problem in turn-based games. This is what happened to XCOM 2 when it came out. XCOM 2 introduced a turn limit, right? And the week that it came out, right, it had a lot of controversy. A lot of people did not like the time limit. But it is a design decision to force players to be a bit more active. I don't think it's a bad design decision, but I think because it's such a shock, people react very negatively to it. The way Invisible Ink deals with it is that the story of the world is already very high stake. So everything that you do here is very risky already. The fact that you're in this building already has a security level, because I think in the story, right, this AI that you're using is known to the enemies already the moment you're in. So they're already ramping up security as you're moving around, even though you're not doing much. I feel if you already bought this game, you're already on the right track. Just try to play, try to understand how do they express it, because I feel that a lot of the things that they do here is already something that you guys are kind of doing. You just need to make it clearer. Even though if you copy, right, I feel like there's no harm in that. Just try and see how it feels like, and then maybe people would understand it. Like you see, they have UI all over the place, right? Like UI here, they have UI here, there's a lot of UI here. I didn't capture the full screen, but at the bottom, your action buttons are actually at the bottom left of the screen, around here. So you can take down, you can I think you can shoot people. Some of them has guns as well. Different characters got different abilities as well. So yeah, there's a lot of UI, and this is to make sure that turn-based games are like very, very clear. Yeah, and I feel that cutting down the ambiguity is one of the biggest things that you can do for your game lah. I think that's about it, because again, it's just shifting the game into the right direction, because I think like it starts off with the right idea. The execution of it, like the components are there, you just need to kind of line it up to a way that it makes sense. I don't feel the need to dramatically change anything. I don't see a overhaul. I really don't see any point in that, because there are parts of it that is like you mentioned, security level exists, good, make it clearer. Oh, you can observe enemy path, good, make it clearer. I think the only design decision that you might need to think about is that what is your counterplay for getting spotted. I think that's the only thing that if you can solve, that would also transform the game dramatically in a positive way lah. Like hiding spots, right? Also making hiding spots clearer also, that might help. Yeah. Like I think if I'm not mistaken as well, like if you get spotted and then you go into a hiding spot, they will lose track of you. So what is the counterplay? They have a very simple counterplay here also. But security level increases. See? So again, you have components there already, I feel. It's just that you gotta make things clearer. Yeah. And yeah, okay, sorry. I think two major things I would say. Reduce ambiguity. What is your counterplay? Because the counterplay would add will dramatically add the strategic element. I think that's all from me. Any other questions?